Let's talk about linear equations, and I want to talk about three different forms: slope-intercept form, standard form, and point-slope form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. It's arguably the most famous form of a linear equation. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Standard form is probably second most famous, ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are numbers. And then last but not least, point slope form looks like this. So if you're an Algebra 1 student, you should be familiar with all three. And if you're an Algebra 2 student, you should be very good at all three. And if you're in college algebra, you should just be an expert at all three equations. So linear equations, three different forms. They all do the same thing, but in different ways. They all communicate the same thing, or at least you could get the same thing out of them, but in a little different way. Some of these forms are better than others if you're graphing, and others are better if you're writing an equation. So we want to be familiar with all three. So let's start with slope-intercept form for this equation. So this is the y-intercept, and this is the slope, and that's why you call it slope-intercept form, is you have the slope here in front of x, 1/3, and you have the y-intercept over here, which is 2. So keep that in mind. I'm going to plot the y-intercept first. So when I come to this graph, here's 0, 0. I go up 2 because the y-intercept is 2. So after I plot that, I follow the directions in the slope. And the slope is telling me to go up 1 because that's a positive 1, and to the right 3. The slope is always a fraction, or it should be. You could write it in a fraction, even if it were a whole number. And the top number is going to tell you either to go up or down. If it's positive, you're going up. If it's negative, you're going down. So this is telling me to go up 1 and to the right 3. So back over here, the y-intercept is 2. I'm going to go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, and I put a dot there. So I have this point and I have this point, and I line those up and draw a line. So this line graphs to be like this. Now, so I have the y-intercept, and I went up 1 and over 3. Now I put 3, 3 here because this is 3 and up 3. I didn't have to do that, but I just did that because I'm going to use it here in a minute. So that's slope-intercept form. Now, if you have something in slope-intercept form, you can convert it to standard form. And what you want to do is you want to notice that the x is on the left, the y is on the left, you have the equal sign, and then you have the constant over here. So I need to move the 1/3 x over there, which makes it negative 1/3 x. So if I move this over, it changes signs. It's like subtracting 1/3 x from both sides. So if I move this over there, it becomes negative 1/3 x. I didn't move the y at all, and I have the 2 right there. So this is almost in standard form. The only other difference is you don't want to have a fraction here. So what you do is you multiply everything by the least common denominator, which the least common denominator in this is 3. So if you multiply this by 3, you get negative 1x, because the 3's are going to cancel. 3 times y is 3y, and 3 times 2 is 6. So this equation is the same line as that, but this is slope-intercept form, and this is standard form. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. So a would be negative 1 in this case, and b is 3, and c is 6. So this is slope-intercept form. This is standard form for the very same equation. Now, let's talk about point-slope form. So point-slope form is a form where you have the slope, so it's similar to slope-intercept form. You have the slope, but instead of having the y-intercept, which is a point, you have any point on the line. And when I drew this line a while ago, one of the reasons I put this 3, 3 here, because you go over 3 and up 3, that's where that point is. This is my x and that's my y. So if I put that here x and here for y, I get this. And of course the slope is 1/3 from this equation up here. So the slope was 1/3, but I'm using that ordered pair from here to write the point slope form. So point slope form has a point, which would be 3, 3, and then it has the slope right here, which is 1/3. So in the point slope form, you have x sub 1 and y sub 1, which is just going to be any ordered pair that is on the line, and I chose that one for x1 and y1. So the minus sign is built in there, so this is 3, 3 for the ordered pair and a slope of 1/3. So this line could be represented by this, or by this, or by this. This would probably be the easiest form for graphing, and this is second to it. Because even from this, I could say I'm going to start at 3, 3, and I'm going to go up 1 and over 3. So if I started at 3, 3, and I went up 1 and over 3, I would end up back on the line. Up 1 and over 3, you end up on this line either way. So you could graph pretty easily from this. This one, you wouldn't be so easy to graph, but you could, but maybe you would make a list of ordered pairs. You'd make a table of values and select some things for x and solve for y. It's not the easiest thing to graph. I think if I had to graph, I would want to convert this to slope-intercept form before I drew the graph, because I think slope-intercept form is easier for graphing. One other thing is that often they ask you to find the x-intercept for a line, and we already know what the y-intercept is for this, right? So the y-intercept is 2 because this is slope-intercept form. But what if somebody asked, hey, what is the x-intercept? Well, there's a couple ways to find that. One is to put 0 into any of these equations for y. So to any one of these equations for y. So I think I'll use this one. So if I'm going to find the x-intercept, I'm going to say negative x plus 3 times 0 equals 6. So I'm finding the x-intercept, and every x-intercept has a y value of 0. So I'm using this one, and I'm putting 0 in there. Well, 3 times 0 is 0, right? And then I have negative x plus 0. Well, that's negative x. And this is a negative 1 that's being multiplied times x, so I'm going to divide by negative 1. So those cancel, and I get x equals negative 6. So the x-intercept is x equals negative 6. That is hitting over here, so this point right here is actually going to be negative 6 and 0. I could also find that by going backwards. Instead of going up 1 and over 3, I could go down 1 and to the left 3, and then down 1 more and to the left 3, and it would put me there at that negative 6, 0. But I think the better way is to use this formula and put 0 in y's place. Now I could have put 0 in this y's place here or over here and worked it out, and it would work. There is a way to get x equals negative 6 from that. But like I said, I think this would be the easiest one because I could just put 0 there, and that simplifies pretty quickly. So that's a little bit about linear equations and 3 different forms. So play this until this makes really good sense. Think through it. If you have some questions, send me some comments.